Journey with the Jawas as we explore Africa in 3 months through 8 countries. Join us as we willingly disrupt our sense of normality and challenge ourselves to live boundlessly by physically crossing borders, create deeper connections together as a family, and of course, explore the endless possibilities that exist beyond our various African borders.
Hey there, it's Yolz channel.
We woke up to a bright, sunny Saturday morning in Uppington after spending 8 hours on the road the night before and had a lovely long rest at an Airbnb here in Uppington. So lush, so green. And as soon as it was time to hit the road, well, goodbye greenery. And things were not just real anymore. It was happening. As we headed towards the border, we realized, well, this is it. We're actually leaving the country. What we also realized was how much lack of life there was out there until we ran into these beautiful birds' nests. We took the time to switch the car off and actually admire nature. Part of this trip is to take the time to pause. Finding power in pause and rest, because rest too is productive. So we did just that. And after about 15 minutes, we hit the road again, and we were very close to the South African border, which got us even more excited. I couldn't wait to see the border. And what I'd hoped would be a quick stop, unfortunately, wasn't the case. We crossed the South African side, and that took about 30 minutes, including declaring all our gadgets. And I think it really took long because of the number of forms we needed to fill out, as well as the serial numbers on all of our devices. And as you probably would have seen in our previous vlog, we got a few new gadgets. So each and every one of them needed to be declared, because SARS, SARS will come for you if you do not declare. And what you go out with, you must come back with. So yeah, we parked our cars and we had quite a bit of police presence around our car. I think this was a sign for us that, we're entering new territory and people are going to wonder. You'll find out why soon. What was welcomed was this beautiful Namibian flag, even though it's a little tattered and torn. After 2 hours at the border, we took on the road with a few stops. Again, just admiring nature and talking, realizing that there are barely any cars on the road. And this was a real prelude of what was to come, because we literally barely saw humans while we were road tripping to Namibia. We were headed for Karasburg, where our accommodation was. We tried to book in advance, and every time we would get to a place or a country, we planned to at least have 5 or 6 of our accommodation all planned out, as we spend a week at least in a country. Our hope is at least 10 to 14 days, but I won't lie to you, now that we've been to another country, it does not seem to be the case, because we don't own immigration. Nonetheless, we arrived safely. My low blood came and hit me like a ton of bricks. I was so weak. While checking in, I almost fainted. Thankfully, the restaurant at our accommodation, the Canyon Roadhouse, was still open, so that's where we had supper, and I was a happy girl in no time. After a warm, hearty breakfast, we hit the road just 20 kilometers away from our accommodation to the famous Fish River Canyon. Now, this was an introduction to what we should have expected going into Namibia. Anytime we greeted humans, we either got a blank dead stare or no smile and no response at all. But that didn't take away from this beautiful canyon. We took in the moment as a family just to enjoy what nature was giving us. If there's one thing about me, I absolutely love nature. Thankfully, so does my husband. Now, can you believe that this was an actual river? Apparently, sometimes there's water here, which right now doesn't seem real, but the Fish River Canyon is a national monument, and it consists of an upper canyon where river erosion was inhibited by hard bedrocks and a lower canyon which formed after erosion had finally worn through the solid metamorphic rocks. Obviously, I am reading this because I did not know all of this history before coming here, but it's been really interesting teaching my little one and actually walking through history itself. It feels incredible to do so. And not too far from here are actually hot springs at the ice, and I think the resort is actually within the same vicinity. I saw signs, and after about an hour, which we had hoped to only spend 30 minutes, we hit the road. Again, a huge rookie mistake. We spent too long sightseeing, taking breaks, taking the moments and did not actually focus on getting to our next destination. We had to get to our accommodation before dark, but we keep having these moments of just adorning and adoring these beautiful places, and we end up just shooting ourselves in the foot, quite literally. Whew. And what a pleasure it was to actually drive on tar. So anytime we actually were driving on gravel road, we needed to deflate our tires. And here we were driving a little bit more uncomfortably than we anticipated because our tires were still a little deflated, and we were looking for the nearest garage, whatever that looked like, as long as it had some sort of pump. But also, as you would have seen in our previous vlog, we were actually given a wheel pump for our wheels, so we got to manually do that in a small town consisting of about 2,000 residents. It's called Bethany, and I had a bit of nostalgia here. I grew up in Hillsview, White River, up until the age of 12, and I actually ended up walking this one street because it reminded me of home back in Mpumalanga. This is a police station, and also a lot of places here have their flags. Now, I know it's normal to have the flag, the national flag at a police station, but there's flags everywhere, not just police stations. This garage also had a little tuck shop. My husband ended up pumping the wheels, only to realize we were going to be met with gravel road. So we ended up asking at every garage that we ran into whether or not we're going to run into gravel, because after pumping those wheels, we now had a harder time driving on gravel with fully pumped, thick, bouncy wheels. We were literally bouncing while sightseeing. Good morning. It's a new morning. Fezzi's trippy outside. Actually, let's get out this way one time. Aloha, good morning from Maltahohe. Hubby is pumping the wheels of our, well, actually deflating them. We've got to deflate them for the sand. So a lot of what we've seen so far is that we are the only black people around here who do this kind of stuff. And it's not done a lot by us, but I get it. To wake up in the morning, share a facility. I mean, I don't really like that. So the places are booked looked more private. Like today, we are the only people here. We're the only people who've used the ablution blocks. And then at our previous campsite, the Roadhouse, that's a Kodwana Lodge campsite. So Kodwana Lodge is a premium luxury camping as well as resort brand. I think they specialize in more resorts. And then obviously they've got excess land. They make those campsites. It makes sense. We stayed at one of their campsites and it was premium. It was a Roadhouse. It's not the most kid friendly, and of course when we were at the restaurant we were looked at like, there's black people here and they're not the service people, they're not waitresses. We were there to eat and we had a child. The bathrooms were a little funky. I could not take a video. It had naked people. Both bathrooms had naked people. We had to close Fazy's little eyes somewhere there. But anyway, it's been amazing seeing this place. and just experiencing it from a tourist perspective. I've always heard about Namibia, never really got to experience it. I have friends here who I can't wait to see. It's really, really nice being on the other side and actually being able to touch ground. If we flew in, we certainly wouldn't have the same experiences, and I'd highly encourage you to do the same. We're about to leave, and I don't want to make this chat super long, but I want to show you the little spots that are designated for you and your family. All of them, they are ours now. You know, we are here to claim back the land. I'm joking. Bang on to the gravel road once again, and we were off to Walvis Bay. We woke up super excited because this is, as we know, a town that is busy, a town that has got more stores. So we were hoping for takeaways for supper and hopefully proper cell phone reception. One biggest thing we completely dismissed and forgot was to create a playlist. So we were out here, besides roughing it up on the road, as you saw, listening to the local radio stations, switching from RSG, hulle praat, to local languages, and it was pretty interesting. I'll actually insert a little clip. It was also really good to get acquainted with the local current affairs. We know that there's a national census going on, and just hearing the different mixes of languages, my goodness, I'm not too sure what language this is, but listen to the next clip. Super interesting.
Khwakwi ngai ha khoina dai ke kire document na da goromi khomi khwakwi khonga tsi dai ke ne file at khomi tsi ke asu se dai ke kai se kai ayus tira mi somewhere kire khoina ka wi ba kire ma kai se kai oma Magdalena Lambert naikin omwa kahatsus din anka sabegi tsi oma magrita roinasi.
We made a quick stop along the road because of these beautiful white sand contrasted by these hills. But I absolutely loved just seeing how white the soil was. I even went as far as actually touching it. It feels like hectic sand. This is en route to the Namib Desert. Yeah, but I promise you, we saw no car. Only one bus was behind us before our stop, and for a good 15 minutes, no car passed until we had left. This literally looks like white rock sand. So interesting, and we gave Fezi just a little lesson about the Namib Desert before heading out. And I'm glad we did this because we were in high spirits, not expecting the kind of reception we got right after this. And I think it is such a shame that, especially as Black people in our African continent, being tourists is not very welcomed, not just by our white counterparts, but also by our very own Black people. I know it's strange seeing us do this, but it is time. It is long overdue. We stopped at the Solitaire McGregor's Bakery, and putting my camera up was a literal sightseeing excursion for a lot of people. Going into this and awkwardly filming this was extremely uncomfortable because people made us feel different. Now, I know we are Black people doing what most white people do, but what a shame that greeting and saying hi was something as though we're not allowed to do. And anytime people saw us going into our cars, they looked in almost as though they're asking questions of, did they steal this vehicle? We were riddled with so many questions at some point because people went as far as to just give us dead stares as if we are guilty of something. But cheer up, family. We literally put our smiles on and decided to continue doing what we are doing. Let us be seen. And if that makes someone else uncomfortable, that is a them problem, not ours.
and your vibes in my mind, I can't get them out, no matter how hard I try. I need you and your heart next to mine. Yeah, I'm all about keeping it you and I. When you're here, you spark chemical reactions. Your aura strikes like lightning. Got no words, I'm just drowning in attraction. Only one way to describe it. It's electric, can you feel it? You got the only touch that takes me high. It's electric, I'm up in my feelings.
We left Solitaire with pleasure, and thankfully it kind of gave us more courage to just go in boldly in places that we can clearly see we're not fully welcomed, but we're here. We saw the Tropic of Capricorn sign. Do you know what this means in geography? If you do not remember, go back to your geography books, because that's exactly where it took me. We continued driving alongside the desert, and far, far away you can just see that dead dryness. Well, you don't actually need to look far. There's a lot of dryness until we reached this sign saying Swakopmund district. We were super excited because we saw some tar and had hoped that it would not be just another little strip. Guess what? It was just another little strip. As we entered this national park, we had to slow down and had no choice but again
Finally,
to just
road.
take in the environment. Oh man, one thing about having nothing on one side of the road, nothing meaning no houses, no residents, is just nature, and having no choice but to look around you and see God. That's exactly what we did. Finally, we started seeing hints of Walvis Bay, welcomed by these sand dunes and, of course, the industrial trucks that were going on. Now, if you didn't know, Walvis Bay is actually an industrial town. It is situated right on the west coast of Namibia. And after being in the south, water was very well welcomed. We started at the mall and just sorted ourselves out with getting the local network, MTC, I believe. And we also got food here. Also got to settle into our Airbnb without much noise, really, just catching up with family, telling them how it's been so far, and starting the week on a high note. Now, this was a Monday and it didn't feel like it. Also, the weather in Walvis Bay normally looks like this. It was a strange realization when our Airbnb host told me this, because I was like, oh, is it cold? No. Is it warm? No, but it's always cloudy. But once we were here, we really just settled down, took time off socials, and just caught up with family and caught up as a family as well. The next morning, we wanted to explore a little bit of the town and try out a highly rated restaurant. Now, this is not the restaurant. The restaurant's name is Anchors. I'll show you in a moment. Guys, the waiter was just not smiling also. You know what? It's, again, not just white people. Everywhere we go, we are just met with frowns.
Hold tight, I've been right where you're standing. Just hold tight to me. The world tries to beat you and leave you lonely, but there's light you see. 'Cause now I know we are God. They can push, they can break, they can throw our bones away. Call me by another name, but I'm a champion.
After that awkward encounter at the restaurant, we only got a smile from our waitress just before we paid the bill, which again is, I don't know, is this how it is in Namibia, or is it because we're black? Tell me the truth in the comment section, because it really leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And if we were not set in our ways, and we weren't really single-mindedly seeking pure joy and happiness in every moment, I don't know if we would have stayed even longer. What I know for sure is that we made up our minds. This is not a place that we would visit often. If anything, we'd probably come back to Namibia to have an experience of the dunes and the desert, not the people, because it is just so unwelcoming, so unfriendly. I've never walked into a restaurant and been served as if I'm forcing someone to be served. Well, I have, but not in such a harsh way, where nobody warms up up until it's time to pay. No. Nonetheless, we really sat down, enjoyed the windy weather, and then decided to head out, meet up with some friends, and enjoy this 3 days of being in Walvis Bay. We ended up hearing about the plankton, the pink plankton that exists. It's a little microorganism basically that flamingos eat, and we wanted to see the waters that they apparently turn pink. But this is also where they mine the salt here, the pink salt as well as the white salt, I believe. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I've heard from locals who live here. This was breathtakingly beautiful, even better watching it on the drone. But we just decided we are tourists. We are going to tour. We are going to enjoy. The world is our oyster, and we are eating it and we are enjoying it. Noma bayazithanda, noma basithandi, and that's exactly what we did. This is Africa, and Africa has so many beautiful places, but also rich resources that we wouldn't otherwise learn or see if we don't go there ourselves. So we even got to see part of the production of the salt here in the salt mines. Obviously, we couldn't go in before hitting the road towards Swakopmund, which, as you would expect, was even worse in terms of reception from both tourists and locals, mainly foreigners, to be quite honest. And I ended up doing a post about it on Instagram, where most Namibians who responded to that post were basically saying this is a German colonized town, or previously German colonized. So you kind of have to expect that. To which I still very much think it should never be the case. Let's not give him that much pleasure. Once we left Swakopmund, it was time to head to the north. And man, oh man, the heat started as soon as we exited the west coast. Listen, kuya shisa in Namibia, but it was really awesome taking the drive out towards the northern side of this country. One of the biggest questions I get is how I maintain my hair as well as my skin. So here goes. When it comes to my hair, I just try and moisturize it every single day, and I've not braided it yet, but I will do very, very soon, probably in Botswana, which is where I'm at right now. And then, of course, when it comes to my skin, there's a major non-negotiable, and that is honestly just protecting it from the harsh African sun. We all know the African sun. So I always, every day, twice a day at least, apply my SPF. That is my Portia M pomegranate oil sunscreen lotion with SPF 50, and I do this around 7 or 8 a.m. when we are ready to hit the road, or just after my shower, and then again around 1 or 2 p.m. Every 5 to 6 hours, I just try to constantly reapply it. Of course, I don't wear sunscreen at night, but that's basically how I've been taking care of my skin as well as my arms as well. I apply sunscreen on my neck, on my arms, everywhere where I see Uguti, I'm exposed, especially because we spend so much time on the road. I will actually leave a link to the sunscreen in the description box. In the next vlog, finally, I saw my kind Black people, and a little bit of culture, a little bit of language, Herero, and of course a little bit of safari. Stay tuned also for our quirky accommodation, which I absolutely loved. I can't wait for you to see the brighter side of Namibia, which quite frankly was very well welcomed by us, the Jawes. See you next time. Mwah.